Hello everyone, here we are at Spa for perhaps what has been one of the busiest weeks in all of iRacing history. This has been a mega combination, and as the guy spinning out in front of us on the formation lap is demonstrating, that has its pros and cons. The cons being that there are a lot of people thinking they're faster than they are because this is Spa, everyone has driven it. But the pro is that the racing has been so tight, especially because this was taken just before the Spa 24-hour special event. So a lot of people have been practicing, myself included. That's why we're in the McLaren 720 Evo. Now we're about to get underway here, which is actually a bit early and does catch me off guard. The start-finish line is actually just after turn 1 in this configuration because we are running a long pit layout here, which is used in the 24-hour event. That does mean, though, that we are now going to be side by side with the guy that was in the row beside us here, who managed to get a much better start. I'm going to lose out now as we're on the run down to a Rouge and Radion. However, we're going to not get overtaken anymore, so now I can try and focus on just running through here on the cold tyres. You can see he's had a bit of a check-up in front of us. We have to lift off ourselves, but we managed to maintain enough momentum now to come alongside them. We're going to start using that side draft on the run down of the Kemmel Straight. As we're coming up towards the com, I want to try and be exactly side by side. I've good confidence on the cold tyres here, having been doing a lot of practice this week on them. And we're just going to about give each other enough space, a little bit of double banging between myself and Matthias. But as we exit Le Com, I'm able to just about get ahead here so I can move across to defend into Bruxelles and re-secure my position. But all this fighting has let the lead group start to pull away from us. You can see Sergey ahead is now 1.8 seconds away, so I'm going to have a big job ahead of me in order to both fend off Matthias and make sure we can start catching up to that group, as we do stand a good chance here, especially if they start fighting. But for now, my focus is just bringing these tyres into the operating temperatures. iRacing did increase the starting temperatures a patch ago, just accounting for a full formation lap. That has meant that the starts have been a little bit more tame compared to the last one, but everyone is now much closer as well, so that does mean that, as you can see in the rearview mirror, everyone is very closely bunched up, with the only real gap being to the 3 cars ahead of us here. That means now that I've got to work very hard in order to catch up to them, and being mindful that Matthias is not going to be that far behind me if I do make a mistake. But we've managed to survive the first lap, so we can now have a look at what we didn't see in terms of incidents. And starting off here with this poor Mustang coming out of turn 1, he gets dive bombed by the McLaren down his inside, who then loses it on the exit, and the Mustang just has nowhere to go. You can see, unfortunately, the Mustang lost their steering, but this McLaren came off even worse, sliding into the pit lane there. Thankfully, the safety car did go through them, otherwise that could have been a lot worse. This was the second incident here. You can see these two banging doors out of no name, and then the Ferrari gets turned in front of the McLaren. You'd think the McLaren would have let off at this point, but they just pin the throttle down, thinking they can push the Ferrari along. Unfortunately, they're going to come off worse for it, but they also tag another car on the way out. Poor luck for those two, but that McLaren certainly could have handled that better. Now we rejoin on to the end of lap 1, coming into the bus stop. I'm watching the leaders and forgetting my own cold tyres here, so I do go very deep into the first spot. That lets Matthias really close up behind us here. They're going to try and pin me to the inside into turn 1, so like they still want to really race and get ahead of us here. And now they move across the left, so I can open myself up a little bit. But I know as long as I get my exit here out of turn 1 solid, they're not going to be able to get past me here, though they do come really close. As you can see on the onboard, Matthias does back off a little bit here, though, knowing that they're going to have the slipstream down the start finish straight here and then up for a Rouge and Radion. They're likely going to be trying to set up for a move into Le Com, which is the sensible thing to do. So I was really hoping at this stage they would try to work with me here. As you can see, Sergey is still now gaining more time to us as we're starting to fight with Matthias now side by side. However, with the tyres being a lot warmer now, I'm much more confident taking this inside line into Le Com. So I do catch Matthias on the way there. It looks like we're just about able to get clear of him and then re-secure the position on the exit. But looking back, I had been a bit too aggressive into the first part here. You're going to see I'm carrying too much speed, which means that I understeer into Matthias. So as much as I try and give the space on the second part, the damage has already been done to him. And he's also now directly under threat from the McLaren that was behind him before. Coming down into Bruxelles, they have the inside with Matthias to the outside. And there's a third McLaren looking to also try and follow them through and gain the position. So all Matthias can help to do here is carry enough speed in order to slot back in just before No Name. And thankfully they're able to do so and mitigate some of the losses. This although meant finally I was free to break out and try to catch up to the leaders. We'd managed to claw a little bit of time back, so by the time we got to lap 4, they had also really started battling now, as we're going to see here. Coming into the bus stop, this Ferrari is in P2 looking to challenge around the outside, but the Ferrari just can't keep their nose in there, so the lead McLaren can sweep back across in order to defend. However, they are now so close on the exit, almost nose to tail. The leader has to defend into turn 1. It would take a mighty swing by the Ferrari in order to make it around the outside. They're going to do the very smart option here and just settle back in and start planning for the run up towards Lecombe. All this fighting though had brought me back into contention along with almost the rest of the pack you can see behind us here. Just to note, Sergey did change their paint after the race, so the replay is going to look a little different for them. On to lap 5, and now we're right behind Sergey and we're watching the two in front of us with keen interest. We'll get the onboard of Corello as they're battling for the lead with Savai. And we're going to be thinking now how we're going to get past Sergey ourselves to try and join that battle. It's not going to be easy though, because the slipstream does let them defend, even though Sergey is not getting it at the moment. So you can see we are drawing that little bit closer on the run into the combat. I'm not close enough or brave enough to send it. We can see Corello is trying around the outside. They're not going to make it though for the first spot. They're just going to settle in now, and then looks like they might be. Nope, they're not close enough to send it down the inside into Bruxelles. But looks like they're going to just settle in for the rest of this lap. It had been playing out where this middle part of Spa, everyone was really just following in single line, saving themselves the two main opportunities to overtake being the bus stop and Lecombe. It was taking big mistakes from people or some really daring dive bombs in order to try and make moves anywhere else. For now, I'm just trying to play this smart. I'm in P4 where I started. I'm gaining IR. I do want to gain SR as well because I did need it at this time. So I'm just going to let this play out in front of me here. I'm just going to keep watching because I know I've got time. And the cars behind don't seem to have the pace now to really challenge me, so I can focus everything ahead of me here. It's not helped as well because you can see Sergey is blinking, so I really don't want to try anything too risky in case there's a big netcode between us. And now we're out of Stavlo. You can see everyone is bunched up once again on the run down towards the bus stop. So I'm going to be watching to see if Corello is going to try once again to see if they can put the pressure onto Saval. I'm going to see if Sergey might try to capitalise on that, because I'm too far back to do anything myself. And you can see Corello is now once again trying to go around the outside, but they're really sticking it this time. Saval's been forced offline, and Corello manages to sweep across in front of them, regaining their position. Now they've just got to defend into turn 1, and they're getting helped by Sergey pressuring Saval around the outside here of turn 1. They're going to try and stick it out, and I try and follow Saval, but Sergey cuts me off and I have to back out there to avoid a contact. That means now we're going to have to settle in once again, not really gaining anything ourselves. But we know that the two cars are going to be battling hard for the lead here, with Sergey trying to capitalise on it. I do want to clear Sergey though as quickly as possible, because I feel that I'm having to be a bit too cautious. And now it's Saval's turn to make a move on Corello. You can see they're pulling out with a lot of speed now. That McLaren in the fixed setup is really fast. The Ferrari is that bit more planted, and Corello's going to try and use that to hang it out. And they're able to defend into the first part of Lecombe. And again, get some help from Sergey, who starts trying to pressure Saval, making them go to the inside of Bruxelles. Now Sergey is slow, and I see an opportunity to go down the inside here, forcing Sergey wide. Just got to try and hold it as tight as possible, but Sergey is still potentially to my outside, so I can't turn into No Name as quick as I would want to. But I'm able to carry enough speed there in order to hold the position, and that puts us up to P3. That was a beautiful moment there, both with the attack from Saval onto Corello. You can see the speed of that McLaren in a straight line there, but looks like Corello was a lot better on the brakes there, with Saval having to give plenty of space on that inside. Followed by my opportunistic move into Bruxelles, using Saval's defence to put Sergey off. And Sergey did try to keep their nose into the inside of No Name, but I was able to fend them off, making the move stick and putting us up to P3. On to lap 6, we managed to close right up behind Saval. Sergey fell off a little bit towards the end of the lap. I'm now going to try and see if I can break Saval's slipstream to Corello, as they're using that to defend against me here, which means that my overtakes are going to be that bit more difficult. So all I'm going to do into the bus stop here is show my nose, try and brake a little bit later, but I'm not really going for the move, nor am I trying to lose the time here. And Saval does take the bait here. You can see they outbrake themselves a little bit. They're almost going into the back of Corello. So I'm starting to play the mind games with them here, because I know I have to break the toe. Otherwise, Saval is just going to be able to use that to defend against me every time into the bus stop and into Lacombe, because you're going to see the same here as we're running down towards the start line. He's well tucked into the toe of that Ferrari, and even with the speed that the McLaren has, even he just can't catch up enough to make a move on to Corello here. I certainly don't have a chance to make a move unless it's a mega lunge into Lacombe, so I'm just going to keep settled in behind them, watching as Saval does close up to Corello, but Corello is just that little bit quicker around this mid part of Spa, which allows him to just keep Saval at bay. But as we're coming up towards Stavlo, this is where I can seem to get a better exit than Saval in front of me every time. So even though he has the draft here, I am going to start closing up a little bit just because I'm so close to him already. So I'm getting that little bit stronger slipstream that you can see. He's like 5/10 from Corello in front of him. I'm going to use this to try and put even more pressure on than I did the last time. I'm making a little bit more of a move. I'm seeing he's going to defend. He's not defending this time, so again I'm going to brake a little bit later, and Corello does help by closing up there, but Saval keeps their cool this time. But I'm hoping my mind games are working to keep them on their toes. It'll make my life a lot easier if I can make him break the toe to Corello in front. That'll make it, when I send it down the inside into Lacombe or into the bus stop, that bit easier, because it's certainly going to take an almighty send at this stage. I'm going to have to really make sure I'm poised in position to make it right. And on to the end of lap 8 now. Saval has actually lost some of the time to Corello in front. That means that they're not getting as much of the slipstream now, and I'm tucked in right behind them. So this is going to be the prime opportunity here. I am going to send it, but I'm expecting them to defend to the inside too. So it's going to take an almighty send to carry the speed around the outside of the bus stop, which is a difficult one. So here I go around the outside, braking as late as I dare whilst trying to carry the speed. I do downshift a little bit early, and there is contact between us. Saval comes across, and there is more contact, which spins them around. It looks like Sergey hit them as well on the way out there. That's definitely not the way I wanted to make that move there, so we're going to have a look and see what went wrong. So that initial send did give me a long side, but Saval managed to carry that little bit more speed, and then there was that additional contact between us, which really slowed me down and put me into their rear quarter, which really squeezed me to the inside, which I did try to hold, as you see here, but Saval closed in a bit too much. I feel like there could have been more space given between us, though I was trying to be really cheeky because I needed to keep him away from Corello. However, this certainly was not the way to do that, and I do apologise to Saval if you see this, as they did disconnect not long after the end of the race, not really giving me a chance to apologise. On to the last lap. Sergey did try to challenge me towards the end, but we were able to fend them off, so we do cross the finish line here in P2 for what is a bittersweet position.
Decent drive. That's the end of the session.
We still had some good battles this race though, so there is at least that, and I hope you have all enjoyed them. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, as that helps me a lot on the channel, and I hope to see you all again next time.